I've heard in different circles that some have relocated, whether it's Asia, Dubai, across in different parts of Europe. What are you hearing?
Yeah, that's certainly something I've been hearing from the real estate agents and advisors I've been speaking to. You know, some people have already made the moves in a sort of preemptive effort to get away before any potential changes come down the pike in terms of these new non-dom charges, the abolition of the scheme. And they've been looking at places like, as you mentioned, sort of Dubai and some of the obvious choices, Switzerland, Monaco, but also Italy increasingly, which is quite interesting because they've just recently increased their tax charge for these ultra-wealthy investors who come, but it's still at a more appealing sort of lower threshold that seems to be enough to give them a little bit of certainty, at least on the outlook, so that they can think, okay, I can plan for the next coming years. Whereas in the UK, I think they're feeling this sense of trepidation and they're really unsure about what's happening. So some people are making these provisions, or at least thinking about it, is what I'm hearing.
If you're a non-dom, you were basically considering moving at some point anyway.
Yeah.
You have to jump around. So there is that mobility already.
Completely. And that's one of the, the benefits, I suppose, of these ultra-wealthy, ultra-mobile groups of people. But of course, there are other ties that keep them in places, their businesses potentially, their families. And so that is the toss-up that I think, many of them have chosen the UK for a long time and it has been appealing to them. So how much will they be impacted by this change? How much are they willing to suck up and maybe remain for the things that really do appeal to them here? This
is such an important story because we've had an event before this, and it's called Brexit, that had an impact on how the UK was viewed and the willingness of some people to live here, as well as incentives thrown by big companies at wealthy individuals to relocate elsewhere. So if we do see any exodus, what does it do to the appeal of Britain at a time when it is relatively in favour with investors?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's a difficult one, and this again is what I'm hearing. It's first there was Brexit, then there was a lot of political turmoil in terms of the prior Conservative government, and now these changes coming through where it looks as though Starmer and the Chancellor are, sending this message that they want to level the playing field for everyone and improve public finances. And so I think these people are maybe thinking, we're just not sure what the layout looks like for the super wealthy now and how really welcome we're here.
Can we talk about the impact on the property market then? Because this is a big asset that a lot of wealthy people do have, and maybe multiple assets. And it feels as though there are a couple of factors at play here. That you've already had a market that's been somewhat compressed for a while. And we mentioned Brexit. It really started there. It's never actually picked up to any significant degree. And then interest rates, of course, kicked in. As well as the fact that we're now talking about some sort of capital gains hike for those that have extra properties that they're renting out for investment purposes. So it's a direction of trade that doesn't seem great around real estate.
Completely. As you say, it's continuation of already some challenging environments, and some recent data from Knight Frank suggests that the transactions in this super prime London real estate market were down 22% over the past year, and that was in anticipation of the election, etc. And of course, these other factors you mentioned. Now, as we look ahead to the autumn statement, these advisors are saying that we're expecting still to be some hesitancy in the market, and particularly at that really top end of the 30 million plus properties, because they're either just wanting to get out or they're just not sure what's going on. But I am also hearing, that is creating opportunities where prices are maybe coming down a little bit for those who do decide to get out, and that can create opportunities maybe for your wealthy US investors who, are already subject to these worldwide taxes anyway.
We were having a fascinating discussion off camera before, and it was about the consumption habits of the segment we're talking about, where they're willing to pay for certain services, certain products at whatever price because they're less price sensitive. And we're saying, does that actually drive up inflation, particularly on services where we're seeing really sticky numbers here? Or is it a great thing because they're bringing money into the economy, they're paying VAT, and the economy is supported as a result? I mean, how do we think about this?
It's really, really difficult to know, and I think the lobby group that I spoke to have done some more extensive research on this, are saying that there are all these second and third effects that do actually contribute to the economy, and those are the beneficial things that we could lose out on. But there is the other argument, of course, that it just creates this exclusive bubble of people, and it could be potentially having an impact on inflation, especially in the services sector.